Okay, we're live. Hey, everyone.
What's up?
How's everybody doing?
I'm much warmer than you are in Canada, being down in Phoenix. I don't know. I don't know. Celsius is fake to me, but Fahrenheit, it's 100 and like 8 degrees. So
T-shirt weather, right?
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a little colder up here. We got the AC on.
You guys are, one of my favorite pictures is like Justin fell asleep with the window open and like a snow drift happened overnight. And there's just like a bunch of snow inside of his house. I'm like, you Canadians are just built differently. Like,
well, what actually happened was I had my window open in the wintertime and I had the blinds closed all.
Yeah, but it's like negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit in the wintertime and you have your window open.
When I opened up the curtains on Monday, it was like snow on the floor in the house. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's nice and chilly.
Yeah, you're nuts. So yeah. Anyways, what are we here to talk about, Brett?
Super excited to have this crew here. Other than me, it's a super great, very impressive group of Justins that have built companies, big businesses, are innovators in their space, and really leading what they're doing. And thought we could all learn together here on this topic of, first of all, AI, how AI is being deployed and used by some of the top teams in the country, and in the continent. Justin being one of them, and Justin Benson and I working with teams principally throughout the continent that sort of fit that profile. There is a market that we're in that people are confused about what to do a little bit, and sometimes there's lots of shiny, fancy objects, I think, that kind of get our excitement. And then there's sort of like the real tools and the everyday, really boring stuff that you actually have to do and the standards that you have to set for your organization. And so we're going to try to bridge the shiny things and the day-to-day things to sort of cut through the noise a little bit and learn from Justin, who I'll let introduce himself. Justin, you want to start? Justin H.
Yeah, we gotta like find just call me Benson. It's easier Benson. Just to call me Benson. So,
again, I'm Justin Havre, team leader of the Justin Havre Real Estate team with eXp Realty here in Calgary, in Canada, north of you guys, obviously. A little bit cooler, apparently.
Just a little bit.
And Benson, who are you?
Justin Benson, resident tech nerd, founder of Barra Agency, fractional CTO, doing our best to build technology in a custom way for organizations, like Justin Havre over there. And then also CEO and co-founder of Shilo, AI sales coach, trainer, and assistant. So.
And you're a realtor too, right? You should
I sold a couple of houses. Yeah. Like 400 some odd homes before I got out of production, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, I have people accidentally downline at EXP from me, so I've literally never recruited anybody though. So I don't know how.
That also really helps you again when you're building, again, the tools and the tech stack that you're involved in, and deeper understanding of how us real estate agents work and what.
That's a bit of the superpower. Obviously, is like I've been a team leader of a large scale organization. I've been an agent. I've been everything that you are when you build an organization like that. Yet at some point you're the transaction manager and you're also the listing coordinator, you're everything at some point, right? So having all of that experience with the tech background really made it really possible for me to have like good instincts for technology in our space. So.
And I actually have a little bit of real estate background too on the commercial side. I did a bunch of commercial real estate finance actually back in the day.
Yeah, you're way cooler though. You come from the high world of finance. Like, I'm just a simpleton.
Yeah. I also have Claude Code opened up here, so I might qualify as a tech nerd soon.
Okay, look at you.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm Brett Siegal, founder and CEO of Ruuster. We help teams with big databases wake up and nurture their databases and connect it in with a whole suite of tools for collaborating with consumers. So thought today, so the structure of this conversation will be, number one, how to wake up your database. Number two, part two will be, what are the standards? What do you actually do with leads once they start raising their hand? And that's the everyday work. And Justin has built a great system and team and training program for that. And then sort of from there, how do we train agents to make them even better throughout time? And that's where Shilo has really started to shine. So let's kick it off here. So something like 6 or 7% of your database is going to transact in any year. I think, Justin, you were mentioning that was the data point that you'd heard.
Yeah, they say that, again, if you have a database of obviously potential opportunities in it, there are industry leaders that say that about 6% of the people in your database will do a real estate transaction in the next 12 months. So I think we can all pull out our calculator, look at the number of leads we have in our CRM, and do some pretty easy calculations there, and probably have some big open eyes after that, because that's how many opportunities that you are sitting with in your database, right? So if you have 100,000 leads in your CRM, that's 6,000 people that will be moving in the next 12 months. And what are you doing to ensure that you capture as many of those as possible?
Yeah, exactly. So like the conversion rate, for example, in your organization on brand new leads, what do you think that is ballpark as a percentage as they come in?
From a percentage point, I think it also depends on what type of lead is it, right? If you have a Zillow style lead where there's an inquiry, obviously the conversion ratio is going to be much, much higher than an IDX registration lead where they're simply just submitting their information to see more details. Those are more higher of the funnel lead versus a showing request, which is more of a bottom of a funnel lead. So I'd say from a registration standpoint, if you are, the industry average from a IDX registration lead is actually in and around 0.5%. And if you're a rock star, you're in that 3 to 5% range on IDX registration leads. Now, if you're doing inquiries, I would argue that those are in the 15 to 20% range. Again, it's all about how do you obviously nurture those leads. We know that the industry average in North America is 1.2 call attempts per lead. No wonder there's so many people that say that these leads suck. And there's hundreds of millions of dollars that are wasted on leads on an annual basis here in North America because simply the agents aren't doing the proper follow-up. They don't have the proper strategy in order to convert those opportunities into successful transactions and lifelong clients.
We were actually just talking about that before we went live, the reality that many people don't. It's very rarely a leads problem at a certain size team. It's actually a conversion problem, actually, right?
I think it's always a conversions problem. I mean, it shouldn't be very hard to generate leads in today's world, or even just having conversations with people. Again, if you're out there interacting with people, holding open houses, you're going to have conversation with potential prospect. Mm-hmm. Are you constantly in that hunting and gathering mentality where you're looking at capturing name, phone number, email of the people that you interact with, and then putting them into a CRM and then continuing to nurture them? It shouldn't matter when someone is going to transact. It's just a matter of you being top of mind with that potential prospect, as long as you have that contact information of that individual.
So it sounds like the rough math is that somewhere between 97 and 85 and 97% of the leads end up going into sort of the not converting today bucket.
Well, you know what? I think as an industry, we need to kind of do a reset on our expectations. I think a lot of agents, and perhaps the agents that got into the business during the COVID market, kind of got, sold a big lie of what real estate is really about, right? It's that instant gratification. You get a lead, show them a house, they buy it. It didn't require a lot of skill to close deals in that market. That market also trained agent behavior across North America, kind of created this new expectation on what's a good lead. Well, again, if you get a lead that comes into the organization today, they may want to look at a house today or tomorrow. If they like the house, they're probably going to write an offer, and you may have a successful transaction close within 30 days. We all know that if we've been in the business for a while, that's not real estate. Real estate is all about relationships. It's all about continuing to nurture those relationships over a long period of time. And we found that when we did an analysis on the data, when a lead would come into our organization, the difference between a property inquiry or an IDX registration lead, or for that matter, even an SOI lead that was entered into the CRM, they all transacted on average within 12 months of entering into the CRM. So again, we're probably now that obviously the market has changed drastically since the pandemic. We as industry members, we also need to change our behavior. The behavior of the consumer has changed. The demand isn't there. There's a lot of FOMO in the marketplace at that time as well. People feeling quite wealthy because they had a lot of savings that they were spending on real estate. And now that's different. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. The consumer behavior has drastically changed where there's a lot of uncertainty. It's now the right time to buy. Well, again, everybody's going to buy when the right time is for them. We can't force them to do that. We just got to make sure that we are the trusted advisor, top of mind, giving them all the facts about what we see in the current landscape so they can make that informed decision for themselves and their family.
I love that for a few different reasons. Like, you mean to tell me that just being an appointment setter is not the only skill set we need as real estate agents? You mean that we have to know more than that? Ben, I heard Ben Kinney once say it. It was like the most simple way I've ever heard sales put, that like all of sales is just, you say the right thing to the right people, the right amount of times, basically. Like it's as simple as that. We try to overcomplicate it and try to find shortcuts to things, and it doesn't like actually typically work. However, what is interesting is that like when I started real estate, all of the follow-up kind of scripting and kind of follow-up cadences were all time-based, right? It was like the first 7 days of pain. And don't get me wrong, that still works, especially with like brand new leads that just come through the funnel in the very beginning. But then we know that like at that point, we kind of tapered into these like, okay, every 14 days follow-ups. You just kind of like longer and longer timeframes reaching out to people. But now we know, we have the data to show that activity-based follow-up is actually the most appropriate way to follow up with those longer-term nurture leads, right? And I'm not like, I don't know, I got no skin in the game on this thing, but like the thing that's like awesome that I wish that I had when I was running a team was you set people up on MLS searches and like long-term drip campaigns, and then you have no freaking idea whether or not they're like looking at houses or like any way to do that except getting through your whatever hot sheet and your MLS system, which is like atrocious anyways. And now that there are systems like Ruuster that you can set them up on reliable searches and then, wait for your follow-up boss or your CRM smart drip campaign to show up and like actually notify you that Sally just reactivated on your website is like so freaking awesome, because that used to only exist with like an IDX based search engine. But now that we have like Vow feeds, like true MLS replacements like Ruuster, it's like one continuous experience. So
yeah, and it gives them the power to search the MLS like a realtor, right? And you also have the dynamic search feature as well, where it constantly adapt the search criteria based on the properties that they view. Again, technology is evolving so fast in our industry, and I think that if you are an agent or a team in this industry, you need to be open-minded. You need to, lean into all the tools that are out there, but at the same time, be very strategic of what tools you want to apply. Because again, as real estate agents, and I was talking to some colleagues the other day, like we're like a herd of cows, right? We go into this field, somebody tells us, hey, this is the best grass over here. So then everybody goes in there, right? And then there's a new field over here that's even better grass. And this is how we kind of flock around. And we spend millions and millions of dollars in this industry on the latest and greatest tool because everybody's looking for that magic pill, right?
Yeah, no, switching brokerages, right? Like you switch brokerages and that solves all of your problems, right? Isn't that the...
Yeah, switching brokerage, everything, right? It's at the end of the day, this business, it's not rocket science. It's all based around human behavior, around your behavior. Input equals output all day long. Clearly, you need to have the skill. You need to have the ability to train and develop your skills because different markets require different behavior and skills. If you're looking at the landscape that we're in today, Do you think that it's going to require more phone calls, more attention to your CRM in the next, I guess we're about 4 months left of the year, if you want to do more business for the tail end of this year? You're probably going to have to double down or triple down on your activities in your CRM. But then who do you reach out to, right? Do you just start calling on a list, or do you have a look at, the people that are most active in your CRM? What properties are they looking at? How many times have they looked at that property? Then what is your strategy when you're reaching out to them? Are you asking them, hey, what is it that you really like about this property at 123 Main Street? I really like the kitchen. What do you like? Ask open-ended questions to get that conversation going.
Yeah, timing and motivation.
So your stack, your tech that you use is actually pretty limited and simple for your agents, right?
Yeah, it's actually, obviously we use Follow Up Boss. I believe that is the best CRM in the industry. Obviously it has a lot of integrations with different platforms you can integrate. We recently moved over to Ruuster for all of our saved searches. We run about a dozen websites in our marketplace, and we used to set up a saved search on every single website, and some of the agents would struggle doing that as well. Now switching over to Ruuster, where we have one place to have the saved searches with the automatic saved search feature enabled, so that all of our potential opportunities will get a saved search based on what they're looking at on the MLS through all of our websites. Has been, again, just a way to simplify it, along with the native app that users can use and download, because I believe that when they download the app, you create a lot more stickiness with that potential prospect in your system.
And you can view and create those searches and edit those searches right inside of Follow Up Boss, which is a really fun kind of like cherry on top. So as far as training agents, it's hard enough to train on multiple systems. It's better if it's sitting all inside of one system. So
and then in conjunction with obviously using Shilo. Shilo is again a platform that we've used for quite some time now, and again, it is like having a sales manager in your organization that never sleeps, always on, listens to every single outbound and inbound call in the organization. It gives us that bird's eye view of what is going on. Who are the agents that are doing really well on the phone? Who are some of the agents that are kind of struggling? Are there any opportunities that we can save to prevent falling through the cracks? Gamifying it as well, getting the agents to, again, be proud about getting a 5-star rating on their phone call. And then also teaching the agents to go in and look at what kind of rating they got on the call. Even this afternoon, I had a meeting with some of the leadership, and we had an agent that started with us. Started their training on Monday, and we get him into prospecting pretty early on. And even last night, I think it was like 8:00, he messaged one of our staff, and he's like, "Oh, I nailed this call. Check it out." And you know what? It was a 5-star call. Right. So it's, fun when they start to kind of get excited about that, especially very early on. And then that they see the impact of the ability to have, 4 or 5-star call, how they're moving the prospects to the next step. And we have even trained our agents to kind of go in, and if let's say they got a 2 or 3-star, and perhaps there's a good recommendation by Shilo that the agent missed out on asking a specific question or set the appointment or move that lead to the next step, they're now going back and calling those leads and saying, "Hey, Justin, I was thinking about the conversation we had a few moments ago. Why don't we do this instead?" And make that recommendation that Shilo made in the CRM, and they're actually able to move people forward and actually do more business because of it. So as a team leader, to me, that's music to my ears. Obviously, when you spend a few bucks on generating leads and opportunities, you want to see an ROI on that for your organization, but you also want the agents to see an ROI on the time that they're invested into building a business within your organization.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the nurture part, and then we'll move into, I think, your standards, which is amazing. And then you touched on some of the Shilo stuff. So we set you guys up on these nurtures. We set up most of your database which is also really neat. With a few clicks, you can set everyone up and it reads their history and starts sending them properties and then follows up with them as they start engaging with it. And so last month, for example, and you have a pretty big database, but about 6% of your database or 7% of your database, we were able to actually drive activity from. That was measurable, that went into the CRM system, all through the AI nurture, which is just like a super neat thing to see it working at scale.
Yeah, and we're super excited about that. And we're just kind of getting going with the Ruuster platform, and we're super excited about all the potential that it has as well. And the results that we're seeing so far is great. And I believe that the user experience in itself as well is also top notch for the end user, which again creates more stickiness. I'm all about looking at metrics, like how long does a web visitor spend on your website. And we see on our website to spend on average about 8-9 minutes. So again, if we can kind of add to that experience, and when you have a very user-friendly platform for them to be able to search properties with ease and convenience, it enhances that.
Yeah, that's actually quite high, 8 or 9 minutes on it.
Yeah, no, it is.
And then I think a lot of people are really, really interested in the training and development organization that you've built in particular, where you have really put an enormous amount of resources and thought and talent behind recruiting and training and setting standards and enforcing those standards. Would love to hear, more about that.
This is also if you're listening, Justin Havre, again, I get to be in touch with. It feels like name droppy, so I'm not going to go through the Rolodex, but I have this blessing to be involved with many of the biggest names that you guys hear of. Justin's team's per agent productivity is alarmingly good, actually. So listen to this answer.
Yeah, no, you know what? Again, I believe that it's when you have people partnering with you as your team, and I believe that the foundation to have long-term success in this industry, it's all about building skill. And that is foundational skills that's going to be, again, with an agent for the entire career. People join a team for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And, again, as a team leader, I look at that as it's an opportunity to build a long-term relationship with the agents that choose to partner with our organization. Obviously, we have a certain recruiting process. Not everybody makes it on the team. We're very selective of who we bring on, and we probably bring on about 25% of the people that we actually interview with. So we're very specific because we're learning, hey, who are the agents that will succeed in our system? And granted, sometimes you may be surprised by who it is as well, but through our agentdevelopment.com training program that we have, been running here now for about a year plus for the team, which has been developed by my partner, Carmen Morin. And, we have also Neil Stouffer, who is, he's a head of training and development for our team as well. And Carmen's more the chief learning officer, where she brings a lot of insights from being a world-class pianist, and she has won international awards, so she knows a thing or two about the principles of practice. And we have developed a really unique training program, and if you want to learn more about it, you can go on to agentdevelopment.com and read more about it. But we believe that it's all about training behavior. It's about training the skill and the will to withstand all the challenges in this industry. 87% of agents fail in the first 5 years in this industry. And you got to ask yourself, why is that? Is it because, one, they don't have the skill, or is it because they don't have the will, or both of them, right? And I believe that if you have the willingness to learn, you can always be successful here. And it is all about building that action economy. So when we bring our agents on, we bring them on in cohorts, and that means that they get to learn together. And we have many different classes throughout, again, the first 90 days as they join on the team, but we're training the behavior that is required in order to also set them up for success in this business. You got to think of yourself when you're in real estate, when you meet with a buyer or a seller, it's a performance. You're on stage or you're on the field, or you're on the ice if you're into hockey, right? You are there to perform. And that means that you got to be prepared. You got to know what to say. You got to have, the proper framework in order to structure a positive conversation, to move potential prospects down the pipeline to get to that appointment and then walk them through the transaction. So I think it's incredibly important to invest big into training and development, because like I said, when you're spending money on leads and opportunities, you don't want these opportunities to go to waste, first and foremost, because it's an opportunity for an agent to make an income for their family. And you never want to practice on your leads. That is something that happens way too much in this business. If there's $5, $10, $15, $20,000 on the line, and how many agents are like, oh, I saw this on YouTube, so I'm not going to go try it and see how it goes, kind of wing it. It's kind of scary.
So
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. The practicing on, the practicing real life on leads is really prevalent. But the one thing I just wanted to note was, you also hear a lot of people wanting to build really great cultures in their real estate organization. And they're like, how do I build a great culture? How do I build a great culture? The training and standards that are set, that like Havre just talked about there, that actually is the thing that builds the culture inside of the organization. There's very clear lines of demarcation of like, this is what it takes to succeed here, and this is what it takes to probably not be here anymore as well, right? And it creates safety for everybody, but also establishes a certain threshold, and that sets the bar for productivity and culture in your organization. So,
well, I think it's important to kind of look like, if you're running a real estate team or running a business, you got to be accountable. You got to have accountability in there too. And I think it's incredibly important to set clear expectations at the hiring table. This is what we expect. Are you able to meet those expectations, and you buy into it, and do you commit to it? It's like no different. Like, there wouldn't be any professional teams in the NFL if you didn't have a head coach and a coaching staff, where there's accountability, where they hold training sessions. So you got to, like, if you want to get paid like an athlete, you got to behave like one. It is, real estate is not as seen on TV, no matter which reality TV show that you watch. It does require hard work. It requires a commitment. And this is why I believe that it is all about training your behavior. And the money you make is actually the money you spend, the time in the CRM.
And yeah, continuing the sports like analogy, that football team, American football. I know you guys are in Canada. I don't know what you guys call actual soccer football, but American, they don't practice on the upcoming team. They've got a scrimmage squad that they also practice against, before they actually show up for the real game. So lots of real world applications to be applied on that side, to be like ready for showtime. And reps ultimately matter, right? When you get into stressful environments and feel like you get caught off guard, it's not you don't, that old saying, like, you don't rise to the level of your capability, you rise to the level of your training, is what ends up happening in those environments. And the only way that you have training is by putting in reps. There's no shortcut to that. So
yeah, and I think also in this industry, it's very many, teams and brokerages say they have the best training, but the reality is that a lot of that training is simply just passive lecture, like passive training, where it's just lecture based. Agents don't necessarily get to test their skills in a lecture environment.
Look, man, a fruit is known by its tree, or a tree is known by its fruit, right? So if it high per agent productivity is a very indicative outcome of the right things happening correctly. So,
and this is also, again, an area where Shilo can be an assistant to train your agents as well. And that's one of the things that we use Shilo for, is it gives us the ability to, pick out good conversations in the CRMs that we could do better at. And then we will get the agents to actively role play some of these scenarios as well. And now obviously Shilo has where you can reenact that conversation and redo it with the role play feature inside the Shilo as well. If the agent want to practice on their own time, where they're perhaps a little more comfortable, but then you got to make sure that you test them in an environment where there's a little more pressure.
You guys should do it live. The Rise Real Estate team started doing them, like Jim Amon as well started doing like these Shilo role plays live in front of the group. And like, all right, 3 willing souls are going to come to the front of the classroom right now and try to battle with Shilo, and whoever gets the best call rating at the end of this is going to get a prize. So it's real fun.
That sounds like a fun game for a meeting.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. Honestly, I did one on a Zoom to prove that I still got it, and I was like super relieved that it showed up as a 5-star call on the back end. So
You probably had a little hack in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah. You train the algorithm.
No.
Yeah,
It's I did pull a random call out of. I did not know who I was talking to. I knew the lead source, but I didn't know the objections. So
obviously, this has been your environment day and night for the last few years. So you obviously have a pretty good insight of what it takes.
well, we actually just pulled all the data in a calendar year. We have analyzed the equivalent of 6 years and 22 days of uninterrupted talk time. That's how much phone call data we have analyzed and transcribed and categorized. And now we have some really interesting trends. I'm putting together a white paper right now, but like the most glaring one is get the 77% of all of those calls, they ended without some kind of next step assigned to them. 77% of them. Letting people off the phone by saying, awesome, great talking to you. I don't know what to follow up next week. All right, see you later.
It's not interesting. So if you're an agent and you just heard that, now think of all the phone calls that you make. How many times are you letting a potential prospect off the hook like that? And that how many phone calls is that from, Justin?
It's like 1.9. It's like 1.97 million phone calls.
Yeah, almost 2 million phone calls, and 77% of them don't take it to the next step.
Yeah, and not even proactive, like not even prospective client, like even current client. I want to connect somebody to the lender. Awesome, great. I'm going to introduce you to Justin Havre. He's the best lender in town. I'll text intro in about 5 minutes, and you guys will definitely talk today. So let's just go ahead and set up a time tomorrow so we can sync up after you've had that conversation and like create a real good game plan moving forward. Firm next step at the end every single time. So we are going to start banging that drum real loud on the Shilo side soon, because we know that like if you just did that, like that's your only goal for the next year as a real estate organization, is just focus on that one thing. With or without Shilo, you'll see conversion increase. So
isn't there a stat that in the US there was 70% of real estate agents did not sell a single home last year, correct?
That sounds right. Yeah, I don't know for sure, but that sounds right.
Why do you think that is?
Part-time agents? I don't.
Well, 27% of them don't seem to take it to the next step. Right? So is that a training opportunity?
Oh yeah, there's a massive training gap right now. You touched on it with the whole COVID thing, right? Like it was eye-opening to me that new agents didn't know what price reductions were on listings. I'm like, what? You are confused that you have to call your seller and chat about the stats that are happening and try to talk them down on their price, because that's probably the thing that is wrong here. Like, that's wild to me that we had such a lack of training during that time, because it was just so easy. But at the end of the day, everybody's a genius in the bull market. Like everybody's smart when times are good. Everybody is right. But at the same time, you could have put a listing on MLS with no photo and the description could be purple unicorn, and you would have sold it in multiple offers by the end of the day, right? So it's just like not a good comparison. But now that we're in our true market, the beautiful thing about that is that the ones that can stay, the ones that have the staying power, like good businesses get built during downturns. If you can find a way to get through that, you'll develop the skills that are necessary to make it through everything that's to come.
So a little insight in Canada from 2015 to end of 2021, we were perhaps in the worst real estate market in all of Canada, worst economic climate, period. And I'll tell you this, the agents that worked in that market, that did well in that market, my God, rock stars, absolute rock stars. And if there's anything to be excited about in a challenging market, that is an opportunity to really build some incredible skills for you and your future career. And, you know, the market's just always going to change. The market doesn't dictate your income. You dictate your income by your activities. And I always say this, you create your own action economy. And I think it's really important to track how much time are you spending in the CRM? When you're in the CRM, how many outbound calls do you make? How many conversations are you having? And how many appointments do you set each time? Track that on a daily basis. And even if you were to do 3 90-minute sessions a day, like if you don't have an appointment today, what should you be doing? Well, you should be spending some time in your CRM. Why not do 3 90-minute sessions? 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. That's only 4.5 hours of work.
And by spending time in the CRM, notice that that was activity, calling people. Yeah. So many people are like, oh, I don't have an appointment today. I'm going to create a new automation or a new drip campaign. Like, no. That's just you procrastinating and being scared to do the thing that actually moves the needle, which is picking up the phone and talking to somebody.
And you know what? Like, it's not sexy. It's not Instagram worthy. We all know that, right?
There is literally no shortcut. Even on like the technology sales side, it's so funny because you run into so many people that are like, I just came up with some new idea with a dancing unicorn and a AI outbound thing, and it's going to shortcut everything, and we're going to be billionaires next week kind of thing. It never works. You know what works? Enriching a list by hand and hand to hand, reaching out to those people one by one. So
this is a relationship business. And again, people, in my opinion, are always going to need a trusted advisor to help them walk through a real estate transaction, whether they're buying or selling. Because again, we're human beings, we are emotional, and residential real estate is based on emotional decisions that they have to make, right? So they do need the trusted guidance of a trusted advisor to help navigate whatever the challenges are, because otherwise some of those deals can get real messy, right? So I think it's, you're touching on a few things here too, Justin, where, in the world of AI, there are a lot of people that are looking for the shiny objects or perhaps a shortcut. There's no shortcut to success. Success is built by small wins each and every day. Focus on winning one day at a time. And before you know it, a year goes by and you will have lots of wins that will add up. But it starts with, again, spending time in your CRM, looking at your CRM of all the people that you have in there, ensuring that, one, they all have a saved search, making sure that you have retargeting campaigns and nurture campaigns going to them. Then that you actually pick up the phone and call them, because you can't tell me about a sale that didn't happen or didn't start with a conversation. You got to have conversation with people, move them forward, build rapport, utilize the tools, send them video, right? Send them a video, because the name of the game when it comes to converting leads as well is that 78% of sales goes to the first company that responds. And 67% of leads work with the first agent they meet with. Mm-hmm. So think of this. How can you speed that up as a real estate agent? Obviously, you want to try to get belly to belly with them, meet them at the property, show them a house, and kind of start planting that seed of, hey, this is what it could look like for you to move into a home in your city, town, or community. But if you actually pick up your phone and use video as part of your conversion strategy, video actually increases your conversions by 70% when you use it. And the human brain doesn't know the difference between seeing you on this screen or the device or meeting you in person. So the quicker that you can start using video and interacting with any new leads, the higher the likelihood is that you will work with them. And it also triggers the desire for someone to respond to. They almost feel obligated to respond to you if you personalize that video to them. Try it even with your friends.
I was literally just about to mention that the amount of videos from you and Gary basically that I have in my photo reel is astronomically high, actually. So you don't just do that to leads, you do it to friends and other people too. So
yeah, I find it's easier to send a video than to type out a message.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah.
I saw somebody had a question really quick about the cold calling thing. Brett, is this the time for that before that gets
let's do it. Yeah.
Buried?
So question from Gabe: is cold calling a part of team activities to generate leads? So calling expireds or canceled or prospecting the tax records.
Oh, well, you know what? Since we're in Canada, we're blessed to have some pretty big privacy laws. So we do not, well, actually, we're not allowed to use the MLS to call expireds. So we don't call any expireds. We don't use any tax records to call anyone because, again, that's another thing that is pretty private up here. Not like you guys, how you guys can see how much, if you knew where Benson lived, how much you got paid from Shilo last month. Just kidding.
Yeah, don't worry about us. We Zillow knows where my mother grocery shops.
Yeah, and this is again, like, again, I was talking to my buddy Ryan Young with Fellow. Again, I can't use that tool in Canada, although I think it could be pretty depressing to see how many people in the database listed with somebody else.
Yeah, 1,000%. Also, this screen is freaking awesome. I want to use this really webinar software. This is freaking awesome.
We don't do cold calling at all. It's all about calling the people that we generate through our lead generation strategies, and that's not cold calling at all.
If I can answer from the United States side of like what I've done personally and what I've seen as well is that, like, yeah, cold calling and door knocking, open houses, you can call any title company in America and just, hey, I want a list, and they'll get you a list. It's such a great activity if you got a lot of time on your hands, but maybe don't have a lot of money to market and pay for any kind of lead source, right? So and my favorite thing about cold calling and door knocking is that nothing trains you better to have zero fear of man than having to engage inside of that arena right there, because you got to get over your fear of what somebody is going to say to you next if you go ahead and volunteer for that. And actually it ends up giving you a lot of confidence, right? And you get the reps in at a pretty low risk environment. So
yeah, and you know what? Even if you do door knocking in around an open house that you can have on the weekend, inviting all the neighbors to the open house, and then you go door knocking even after the open house and say, hey, I didn't see you at my open house. You can get a lot of practice in and overcome that fear of rejection and door them in your face.
Olivia, funny. Yeah, I ran the ISA department for a long time at our previous real estate company. And I started, at first it's like kind of sucks. Somebody gets angry, they're yelling at you, whatever. But I started turning it into like a fun game where like I started taking pride in how many people I could de-escalate in the course of a day. And then I was like running competitions with myself and then other people that were around me. And it wasn't actually around like appointment setting. The competitions were like, how many people were you able to de-escalate today? So we just started hunting for people that were like, oh man, yeah, that guy was super angry last time he picked up the phone. Let's see if we can do better this time. Like, you go pick up the phone and you call him, kind of thing. And what's funny is that actually, it trains you to convert at a much higher level when you can get over that portion of things.
So I heard a story of an agent that he knocked on the front door of a property and the homeowner gave him some attitude. So then he went around and knocked on the back door next.
In America, at least in Arizona, where everyone's carrying a gun, that's how you die in Arizona.
You're trespassing. Yeah.
In Chicago, you're fine if you walk in the front door.
Wow.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Hope this was useful. Justin's, thank you very much for both of your time as well. And this is recorded. It'll actually go out in the next few minutes automatically to everyone who's on the program.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with all three of us. So,
and just, and everybody out there, just go create your own action economy.
Just do it. This is Nike, but yeah. All right, you guys.
And then go to Disney World, right?
Yeah.